G'day there. If you have ever looked at your financial situation and thought, I just do not know how I am ever going to turn my finances around. If you felt like you were just working so hard and yet you never get to enjoy any of your money. If you've got credit cards and personal debt and you just can't see how you're ever going to be able to pay it back, then please be assured, firstly, that you are not alone. And secondly, that there is a solution. And in this video, I want to share with you a roadmap that I have literally just spent the last 15 minutes sharing with a young lady that lives in South Africa. She'd submitted her budget to me. She'd submitted her situation to me and said, Phil, I just don't know what to do. And so I thought, this is such a beautiful story, and I am so passionate about the process that I explained to her and that I took her through that I wanted to share it with you. So please watch along, watch the process. I have been doing this for over 30 years. This journey, this roadmap for turning your financial situation around works. I've done it with over 10,000 families, so please stay tuned to this. G'day there, my name is Phil McGilvray. I'm a financial coach, I'm a financial well-being consultant and founder of the Money Boss movement, where we make practical, life-changing financial education understandable and accessible for everyday people. And today I'm going to take you through the heart and soul of the process that I take all of my clients through. You will see that as I go through this, I am so passionate about this because I've seen so many families, so many people, so many couples, lives changed because of this process. So I'm going to use a very real example of a lady that I had a discussion with just half an hour ago. It's probably 15 minutes ago. And I wanted to share this with you because she was so excited and inspired as we went through this process. So let me quickly read to you first the email that she sent to me before we had this chat, just to give you some context. She says, I'm going to read parts of it. I must admit that my finances have always caused me significant anxiety, and I've tended to adopt the ostrich approach, avoiding the reality of my financial situation. In the past, I ignored the fact that I didn't have enough funds to cover my basic expenses, hoping that by not facing it, the problem would go away. I realized this was unrealistic, and I'm committed to facing it head on now. Historically, I've struggled with inconsistent income, having worked in seasonal jobs. During the good months, I would try to save, but in the slower months, I often had to rely on debt to cover my basic expenses. This cycle has been difficult to break, and I'm working hard to understand my finances more clearly. As I worked through the spreadsheet, I felt overwhelmed. She was overthinking the spreadsheet, by the way. She says, currently I live with my mother, so I don't have expenses like rent or utilities. I contribute small amounts to groceries each month, though I haven't been able to contribute more significantly yet. While I have ambitious goals for more comfortable and fulfilling lifestyle, it can be disheartening when it feels like I'm working hard but never making significant progress. I often feel like I'm stuck in a cycle of just getting by without the ability to treat myself or plan for a better future. So I know that many people, no matter what you earn, there are many people in a situation that can relate to this young lady's situation. So what I'm going to take you through now is her spreadsheet and share with you exactly the conversation that I had with her. So the first thing we've got here is this is Lara's spreadsheet. She lives in South Africa, so it's South African rand, which is, there's 11.79 rand to an Aussie dollar. So I had to just go through and convert this for myself. So we can see here that she's earning 33,000 rand, which is about 2,800 Australian dollars. And if we look through how she's actually spending her money, keeping in mind that she is living with a mum at the moment and doesn't have utilities. Now, as I went through this process, these are, so you can see 3,200 rands going towards every day. There's no utilities. 4,300 going towards communications. Then we've got cars, grooming, gifts, health. She's got no kids, giving, etc., etc. Now, the blue ones are where I suggested to her that she could cut back her spending. So I delved into those in her personal expenses spreadsheet here. I highlighted them, and I'm going to go through those with you now. But let me first just take you back to the Cascade. Now, if you've never seen the Cascade, this is my the way that I think about every single person's finances. I always think about it as water, that being your income coming into your life. The first thing that happens is that flows into your personal operating account, and then we need that operating account to fill up. Now, the problem is many of us, and this is the situation for Lara, the water comes in, the expenses go out, and therefore that pool, that account never fills up. So we're forever robbing Peter to pay Paul. We're living paycheck to paycheck. We never feel like we can do anything fun because there's never enough money in there. It's always running on empty. And so our goal is to get to the point where is my income greater than my expenses? So when we go back to, let me just click off this. When we come back to Lara's situation here, we can see that this is her monthly income. This is all her monthly expenses. And at the moment, she's got a deficit there of minus 589 Rand per month. Our first goal is to get her in a situation where that is a positive figure. And so with her, I said, okay, let's have a look at all these expenses here, remembering that we have total control over our discretionary spending. Sometimes I think we don't think we do, but we absolutely do. If you wanted to, you could spend very, very little on grooming. You could spend very little on gifts. You could spend very little on giving. Now, I'm a big fan of giving, so I'm not a big fan of taking that out of the equation. But you look at the pets, holidays, etc. There are places that you can, if you're really serious about this, pull back your expenses. So I didn't touch some of them, like I didn't touch holidays. We all need a break. I understand that. And I didn't need to touch holidays in this situation. But if we look at them, say grooming, this is very much above average. So at the moment, this is Lara. She lives at home with her mum. She's spending about 300 Australian on her grooming every month. It's easy to spend this much, but our family, that is what we've allowed for our family of 5 per month. So there's scope for this to come back. And so I said to Lara, look, even if you could pull that back by 1,000 Rand per month, leave it at 2.5, then what happens is suddenly, if we reduce that down to $2,500 there, 2.5, now the formula is obviously not working down the bottom there. That should turn green, but it's not. I'm not going to worry about that right now. But we've now got a positive figure there of 410 Rand. So we're now in the positive. Our income is now greater than our expenses. But also, if we go through here, potentially pets could be cut back just a little bit, even if we could pull that back to 1,500 Rand. Now, I'm sorry, just coming back to grooming. Things like, so if I come to Lara's budget here, we can see that she's currently allowing 1,500 for clothes and 2,000 for hair and beauty. A really simple way to reduce those costs is just to say, okay, instead of getting my hair cut every 6 weeks, or coloured, or whatever it might be every 6 weeks, I'm going to make it every 8 weeks, or I'm going to make it every 3 months. Just by extending the time out over the course of the year will significantly reduce what you spend on these things. So cutting that back. So if we come back to the here, we have a look at that. Okay, let's just say pets, we brought that back by 15. So our surplus now there is 710 Rand per month. We also had a look at her loan repayment, and this is a big mistake most people make with their debt. If I have a look at Lara's debts down here, we can see that she's got 2 debts. One's a minimum payment, the credit card, $2,500, and one's a loan to mum. The minimum payment there is 1,000, but right now she's trying to pay more. Now, to start with, she's trying to pay more off the interest-free loan rather than the interest loan. That's, of course, something we need to remedy. But I'd say if we look at the Cascade here, our first goal, so let me come out of the Cascade, our first goal is income greater than expenses, but then is to make sure we've got enough money set aside so that when our known expenses turn up, we have the money sitting there ready to go. So debt, paying off debt is down here at step 4. Now, I'll explain why that is in just a moment, but that's down there in step 4, not here in step 2. Our first goal is, do I have enough money to cover my known expenses so that I've got the cash sitting in my bank account so that I don't need to use debt to cover those expenses? I'm strangling the need to use my credit card. So if we come off here again, so I'd be saying to Lara, okay, I want you to stick your debt aside in the corner at the moment. I know we hate it, but it's been there for the past 5 years. I know we hate it. Trust me in this process. What we are going to do instead is we're going to pay just $1,000. We're going to stick with the minimum, which is going to free up another 1,500 Rand. So if I come back to, actually, if I come to here and I reduce that to 1,000, okay, whoops. If I reduce that to 1,000, that's going to change it on my position summary here. So my debt, oh, it didn't change it. Okay, so I'm going to do it manually, 3,500. Okay, you can see now that she's now got a surplus there of 2,210. If we have a look at her investments, she's putting aside money in retirement savings. Now, I'm a big believer in long-term savings. I totally understand this. But for her right now, she's paying, if we have a look at this debt back here, she's paying 20% on this. She's not going to be earning that in her investments. So we're better off actually taking that money out and say, look, for the moment, I'm not putting anything towards my investment. So let me just come back to personal expenses here. I'm not going to put anything towards my investments at the moment. So I'm just going to find where that is. Where did that go to? Sorry about this. Come back down here to investments. Going, there we go. Retirement fund. So I'm going to make that 0. And so if I come back to position summary now, that has now been 0. So we've made the investments there 0. And then the other she's got in here is she's got money set aside for a rainy day fund. So if I come back to her personal expenses again, we can see there's $1,500 for rainy day fund. And because she's a contractor, she has to pay tax. I'm going to take rainy day fund out. But taking those things out here, if we come back to a position summary, you can now see that her potential surplus every month is 4,710. Okay, so if she sticks to a budget, that is how much money she should have surplus every month. And just about every person has the potential to have more savings in, but the problem is without a plan, we feel like, well, what's the point? What's the point of saving this money? It just seems to disappear anywhere. But this is where we've got a plan, because our goal now, if we come back to here, is to go, okay, we're going to use all that surplus cash flow to build up your personal transaction account so that you've got enough money in there so that when your expenses turn up, the money's just sitting there ready to go. So if we come back to the spreadsheet here and we look at Lara's situation at the moment, what she needs to have sitting in, and this is actually about 40,000. She needs about 40,000 Rand, which is 1.5 times her monthly expenses, sitting in her personal transaction account. So that is, our goal is to have that at the end of each month so that she knows that as the expenses turn up going forward, the money is just there ready to go. Now, right now, she only has 28,000 sitting in her transaction account. So if we have 4,700 surplus every month, if we're pouring that much more into a transaction account than we're taking out, then we can see that, let's say next month, that means she's going to have $32,700 sitting in her transaction account. The month after that, she's going to have, you're going to test my maths now here, was about 4 would be 36, 37,400. So let's go 37,400. And then the month after that, it's going to be, look, I'm just not even going to try to do the maths at 41,800. Let's say 41,800. Okay, you can see finally after 3 months, she now has enough money sitting in her operating account to cover expenses as they turn up. Now, the beautiful thing about this is as long as she continues to pour more in than she takes out, that account will stay full. There'll be enough money to cover her known expenses. Doesn't need to use a credit card, and the money is just there, stress-free. And now we've got money waterfalling over out of that account. Because you can see we now have $1,800 more than we need. Our next step in this process, if we come back to the Cascade, is to make sure that we have a rainy day fund. Now, this is before we pay off debt. The rainy day fund is there to cover unexpected expenses. This is the car breaking down, like a big breakdown. This is the dog getting sick. This is needing root canal therapy. One of my clients the other day, both her dogs got bitten by the same snake. You know, there's a whole chunk of money she had to pay for the antivenin. So we want to build our rainy day fund before we tackle the debt. So if we come back to the situation here, we've got 1,800 that we can now put in the reserve account. So if we take that 1,800 and we put that into the reserve account, you can now see on the rainy day account, you can now see, oh, the maths didn't do it for us, sorry. Should have checked the formulas first. we've now got $23,200 that we need to make up. And if we've got a $4,700 surplus, then you can see it's going to take us about 3.5 months to knock off our rainy day fund. And once our rainy day fund is full, as long as we don't need to use it, it will stay full. And at that point, we have our known expenses covered and we have our unknown expenses covered. I'm hoping you can see how powerful this is. And once we've got that rainy day fund, then that $4,700 that is surplus every month can now start to flow down to paying off the debt. And if we have a look at the debt here, so if we have a look at the debt owing, we've got, what's that, about $53,000, let's make it $54,000 in debt. So if I take this back to the Cascade and we go, okay, we have $54,000 in debt. But remember, we are making minimum payments on this as well. So it's going to take us perhaps about 6 to 12 months to knock off this debt. 6 to 12 months, and then she's debt-free. And the beautiful thing at that point is once she's debt-free, we can then say, well, fantastic. Now we have freed up the $3,500 repayments that we're making. Remember, we're only making $1,500 on that. The $3,500 payments that we were making are now freed up that we get to keep. That means her surplus goes from $4,700 to $8,200, and all of a sudden she's got enough to cover our known expenses every month. She's got a rainy day fund for the unexpected. We can then take that $8,000 and maybe for 3 or 4 months increase her rainy day fund into a much bigger cash reserve. Remember, she's now debt free, and at that point, coming back to the Cascade, she can now start to tick off some of these life goals. Now, she has been in this situation for the last 5 years, but you can see with this, within 2 years, she is going to have the foundation for a strong financial future set. She's going to be debt-free. She's going to have surplus funds coming through, and now she can start to look at her life goals, her investing, and so on. So guys, I hope that has made a whole lot of sense. I hope you're encouraged and inspired by that. If this video has been helpful, please click the like button below. Please click the subscribe button, because every single month, my goal here is to make practical, life-changing financial education understandable and accessible for everyone. And very few people understand that it's these small habits and these small strategies that literally make $1 million difference to your future. So again, if this has been helpful, please click the subscribe button, please click the like buttons. And if you've got any comments, please, if you're watching this because it was emailed to you, please reply to me. Or if you are watching this because you're on YouTube, pop a comment down below and I will do my best to get back to you. Hope this has been helpful. You can transform your financial situation. I've done it so many times. I know that it happened. It can happen for you too. So take care, and I will talk to you soon.